This morning, I want to tell you a story of my very highly unscientific experiment that I did a couple weeks ago. Now, here's the circumstances. For months on end, I have two main routes home that I take when I'm going home from church to home. And for months, I have wondered if one of them was any faster than the other. I mean, my GPS will tell me one to take, but I wasn't sure if it was really true, the one that was faster. And so I have always wanted to test it. And finally, a couple weeks ago, my husband Kevin and I, we left church at the same time, and we pulled up to the light where my route changes at the exact same time. And I thought to me, finally, I can test which route is faster. So, mind you, I'm probably talking like a couple of seconds. I don't think there's a drastic difference, but still, I wanted to know. So when the light turned green, my husband Kevin turned right, and I determined I was going to go straight. I was going to take my preferred route home. Now, for background information, if you don't know about me, I come from a highly competitive family, and I am obnoxiously competitive even among them. So I was so giddy to win a race my husband did not even know we were in. Still, I promise I watched my speed, even still. So you can imagine how excited I was to win and prove that my route was faster. And then I got onto the on-ramp on the freeway, and guess who I saw ahead of me? There he was, close enough that I could see him, far enough that I knew at that moment it was over. His route was faster. Now, you would think that as someone who set off just to find out which route was faster, I would be thrilled that now I knew. But it was little comfort that now I knew as I pulled in 30 seconds after my husband did. Now, fast forward about a week from this. I am on my way out the door. It's midweek, and in typical fashion, I decide that I can get 3 more things done between here and the car. So I do these 3 more things, and it's now 20 minutes have gone by, and there is no way I am making it to daycare on time to pick up my kid before it closes. It's finally one of those times where it actually kind of matters that I get somewhere a little quicker. And now, of course, I've done my highly unscientific experiment, and I know which route is faster. So I get in the car. I remind myself, of course, to just get there safely, and I set out. And I come to that light where our routes diverge, knowing that it was just a few days before this I learned that turning right is faster. And this is a day that getting there faster actually might kind of matter. I get to the light, and I couldn't do it. I still went straight. For the record, I ended up getting stuck behind a bus that stopped 5 times between church and the freeway. And I was absolutely late to picking up my kid. I share this story with you. It's silly, funny, small, insignificant seeming story because I am reminded how hard it can be for us to change our route, how hard it can be in silly things and insignificant things, even when it matters, for us to see things anew, to take a different way. Today, the story of the wise ones appearing to Jesus, the thing that stands out to me most is that they see Jesus and then are warned in a dream to take a different way home. And they actually did it. I can't even get myself to turn right instead of going straight because I'm so insistent my way is still better. And these ones listen to a dream and change their entire way home They had a whole lot farther to go than I did. And still, they were able to choose a different route home because they knew the goodness of Christ and the threat then that it seemed to be to those in power. I am convinced that for all the reason that these magi, the wise ones, are considered the wise ones, it is as much because they were intelligent and educated and watching the signs of the times, I believe, as it is because they were willing to change their path home. I am convinced that we still remember their story because they did that as much as because they came and traveled afar to give generously to honor Christ. I can't even turn right instead of going straight. And these ones can take the whole of their path home and change it. They can risk disobeying Herod, a king who was angry, to protect this child that was the hope of prophecy. A hope, mind you, that probably was not their own. They traveled from afar. They were foreigners. This was not likely their king. Not that they thought so. And yet still, they risked everything to take a different route home, to protect this child and the prophecy of hope that he represented. Talk about the power of Epiphany, the power of experiencing the living God for yourself, to be empowered with courage and wisdom to change your route because now you have experienced the living God in the flesh. This, my friends, is the transformation that comes from being so overjoyed at seeing the Christ child. This is the transformation, the hope of Epiphany for us all. At this time of the year, our calendars are marking a new calendar year. It's often a time when we are in a reflective mode, resolving, hoping for the year ahead. And at this time, I'm wondering about the power of Epiphany to send us by a different road in this time ahead. As our denomination, the Methodist denomination, faces the next uncertainty of what will come in May at General Conference, of how it will speak to our fractured reality, I'm curious about the power of Epiphany, the power of God to still overwhelm us with joy and reveal another path to us. I'm curious at this time how it is on the power of Epiphany that we will honor the roads we have traveled that have led us so far, so well. How we will honor those and yet still be willing to step onto a new path that Christ reveals to us. This Epiphany, I especially wonder how we will have the courage and the wisdom to take a road we wouldn't have taken even when it means defying angry, powerful Herods. Those who are still at work in the world who feign loyalty to Christ but would pervert his name for their own selfish gain. How are the places that we will take different roads, even defying them in their anger and their power? How will we yet learn from those wise ones in this story how to discern the times and the signs, to listen to the stories of those near and far away to hear the truth of God still proclaimed? How will we learn from the wise ones to still show up time and again and offer ourselves in worship of Christ? Will the power of Epiphany still live in us? That we too would know the living presence of God and have the courage, the wisdom to take another road when it is revealed? The one that honors Christ even as it risks defying Herod? Will our story still be told alongside that of the wise magi from the east, alongside the wise ones in generations before us who have given safe harbor to those targeted by angry Herods in the world? Or will we, like me, know that to turn right is better and yet still go straight? My friends, there is nothing easy about taking a different route home. Nothing easy about saying goodbye and honoring a path that we have well worn and loved. There is nothing easy about forging the new way, nothing easy even sometimes in knowing the difference between them. And yet the story, this Epiphany story, calls us still to journey on and to do the work of discernment, to remember the times we have been overwhelmed with joy at knowing Christ, to be transformed by that joy, to boldly set out on a new way. Epiphany invites us to choose again the road home that will lead more and more and more to Christ, alive and known in the world. The story of the wise ones simply shows us how. It shows us that it is possible to take a different road when one is called for. For theirs is the story of what it is to listen, to discern, to prayerfully seek out, to go undeterred till we see and experience Christ. Theirs is a story of what it is to seek until the truth of God is known in the world again and again and reaches more and more people. Theirs is a way of showing up, of engaging the journey, of trusting that indeed God's voice still speaks in the world. Theirs is the way of knowing the joy of Christ that drops everything to worship, to be transformed, to be overwhelmed by it. And so, my dear friends, this Epiphany, may the wise ones show us that indeed it is possible to do far more than just turn right instead of going straight. That it is possible for us, one uncertain step at a time, to take the road that Christ reveals and calls us to. The road that leads more and more and more to the light of Christ shining brighter in the world. So may we have the wisdom, the courage to set out on this path. May we trust that God will yet reveal it. Amen. Friends, in just a couple of minutes, we're going to come to this table and receive the communion meal. This is meal, it is bread